Today, we're going to tackle a huge question for any ambitious restaurant owner. How do you actually scale up from a single location to a multi-million-dollar business? We're going to break down the playbook that these 8-figure restaurant groups use, and it all circles back to one critical piece of tech, their point-of-sale system.
So, let's start with a thought experiment. Every restaurant owner knows that credit card processing fees are just this massive, unavoidable cost. But what if that expense is actually your biggest opportunity? What if it's a chance to save tens of thousands of dollars and use that cash to fund your growth? Let's dig in.
To really get this, we're going to look at a specific case study, a kind of formula for growth that's built around a POS system called Rezku. And the story behind how it was created is pretty key to understanding its whole philosophy.
Now, what's so interesting here is that the founder wasn't some tech guy who decided to jump into the restaurant world. No, he was a successful restaurateur who just got incredibly frustrated. He literally couldn't find a POS system that met his standards for being reliable and fair, so he figured, fine, I'll build it myself. It was born from a real need in a real restaurant, not in a corporate boardroom.
And that real-world focus? That's exactly why these super successful multi-location restaurant groups you see here depend on this system today. I mean, these aren't small shops. They are 8-figure businesses, where efficiency, rock-solid reliability, and, this is key, predictable costs are just non-negotiable for their success. So how do they actually do it? Well, it all starts with understanding one of the most confusing and, let's be honest, intentionally complicated parts of this business, your credit card processing rate.
Okay, so most small businesses are on what's called a flat rate plan. It sounds simple, right? Something like 2.6% plus 10 cents a transaction. Easy enough to understand. But the truth is, it is almost always the most expensive way to do it. The biggest, most sophisticated businesses on the planet, we're talking McDonald's, Walmart, they all use a model called Interchange Plus.
And here's the crucial part. With Interchange Plus, you pay the actual bedrock wholesale costs that Visa or MasterCard charges. Then, on top of that, you pay a small, totally transparent fee to your processor. There are no hidden margins baked in. You're paying the real cost, which means you finally stop overpaying.
And listen, this isn't just for the huge corporations. Once your restaurant gets to about $60,000 in monthly revenue, the math just becomes crystal clear. If you're still on a simple flat rate at that point, you are leaving money on the table. Period.
How much money are we talking about? Well, potentially up to 40 basis points. Now that sounds really small, but it's nearly 0.5% of your entire credit card revenue. For a restaurant doing $1 million a year, that's almost $5,000 that goes straight to your bottom line. And this right here is the first key to scaling.
This whole financial strategy is really rooted in a core business philosophy that is fundamentally different from most of the other tech companies you see out there.
And here's the difference in a nutshell. A publicly traded company has one main job: increase revenue for its shareholders. And often the easiest way to do that is to just squeeze more money out of the customers you already have. The other way, you grow your revenue by getting more customers, which you can only do if you offer a fantastic, fairly priced product.
So you've really got two competing models. One is driven by the demands of shareholders, which can lead to things like annual rate hikes and locking key features behind expensive add-ons. The other is a partnership model, one that's focused on creating long-term value so that more and more restaurants want to join. And that choice of philosophy has huge consequences for your business.
So what does that stability actually look like in the real world? Because for any owner who's trying to forecast a budget, predictability is everything.
It really boils down to a few core promises. First, you get grandfathered rates. Your price doesn't just randomly go up. Second, no feature bloat. You get all the features without having to pay for a bunch of expensive modules. Third, they don't profit on hardware. It's sold at or near cost. And finally, a fair contract structure that makes it affordable to even get started.
So take that idea of no feature bloat. Not too long ago, Rezku developed a really complex tip pooling feature, something their competitors would absolutely charge for as an expensive add-on module. Rezku's approach? They just gave it to every single customer, for free. They just absorbed the development costs themselves.
And that wasn't just a one-off thing. They add around 300 new features to the software every single year. It's this constant evolution of the product. But the price for you, the restaurateur, stays consistent and predictable. Now, you might see a 28-month contract and feel a little hesitant. I get it. But here's the logic. Getting a new restaurant set up the right way, with all the menu programming, the installation, the training, it's a huge upfront cost for Rezku. They actually lose money on day one. The contract is just there to make sure there's enough time for them to recoup that initial investment.
You can kind of think of it like this. For the first several months of the partnership, Rezku is in the red. Then they hit a break-even point. It's really only in the back half of that contract that the relationship becomes profitable for them. It's a business model built for the long haul, not for a quick buck.
So, when you put all of this together, the fair rates, the predictable costs, the constant improvements, it all adds up to one thing: a system that's designed from the ground up to be a silent, reliable partner in your growth.
And this is not just a theory. A while back, a massive Amazon Web Services outage took down huge parts of the internet. Countless restaurants using other cloud-based POS systems were just dead in the water. But Rezku restaurants? They just kept on running because the system was built with the foresight to handle that exact kind of failure. And that really gets to the heart of the whole thing. A restaurateur's life is just a series of solving problems. Problems with staff, with inventory, with customers. The absolute last thing you need is for your core technology to become another problem. It should just work. Silently, reliably, always in the background.
So as we wrap this up, it really all comes down to this one simple question. When you look at your most critical piece of technology, who is it truly built to serve? Is it designed for Wall Street shareholders, or is it designed to be a true partner for your growth? The answer to that question could be the difference between standing still and scaling to that next level.